today is going to be a chat that is part of my Client Spotlight series, where I am speaking with amazing clients who are doing incredible work in the world. And the idea is to explore and extract their biggest insights and learnings and lessons in their entrepreneurial event planning, personal growth journeys to support you in your journey. So I am incredibly excited for the amazing woman that I will be speaking with today, my dear client and soul sister, Akua. We have been on a beautiful journey together. She just recently had an incredible milestone in her business, which was signing her first 3 clients and having a 10K month, which is really remarkable for a new coach. So we're going to unpack what did it take to get her there? What are some of her learnings and lessons and insights around this? And I really hope that this inspires and supports you in your journey. All right, so let me welcome Akua. All right, Akua, I am so incredibly excited to be here with you today, to be sharing a little bit about this incredible journey that we've been on together, and yeah, to shine the spotlight on you and to really unpack a little bit of what your journey has been, and this big milestone that you had recently of landing your first 3 clients, having a 5-figure month, and really just unpacking that and seeing what are some of the biggest learnings and lessons around that. So I am so excited to dive in with you. And before we do, I would love if you could just take a moment to, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your magic and what you do in the world.
So hello, everyone. My name's Akua, and I am originally from the UK, as you can hear, but living in the United Arab Emirates. I live in Abu Dhabi. And about a year ago, a year and a half ago now, my God, time goes quick. I took the leap of faith. I stepped with risk, as I say, and landed with faith, and left the corporate world after many decades in a job that was quote unquote successful. And I followed my passion, I followed my heart. And that was really about combining my 2 passions, people and travel. And I created a beautiful company called Dreamcatcher Global. And I help to empower women through travel and coaching. And in essence, I take women on outer adventures and inner journeys.
Beautiful. I love that so much. And gosh, there's just so much I want to ask you. And one of the things that comes to mind is, as you so beautifully said, you took this leap of faith. And there's so many people out there that maybe have this desire inside, right? And it might be a desire that they've had for a long time, maybe even too long. I know I had this desire inside of me as well for a while, of like leaving the corporate world, venturing on my own. And I would love to know, like, what was that thing that finally got you to take that leap of faith? What was that moment?
That thing, and it was a period of time, but it was COVID. And for some people, COVID was a disaster. And for some people, actually, it was an opportunity to make some significant changes. We had that time to reflect on life, to really determine what was important. Yeah. And unfortunately, people were losing, their lives around us in a way that we had never experienced before in our lifetime. And I recognized that tomorrow isn't promised to any of us. And that made me say, if you're going to do this, just do it, And so I did, but I didn't do it overnight. I had a plan. I didn't just sort of walk into work the next day and quit my job. But that was the catalyst for me. That was the key that said, okay, you are going to now do this. This is not a pipe dream. This is not something that you are just going to think about. This is something now that you're actually going to take action and do. And it was scary. But as I sit here now today, it was the best experience of my entire life.
Yeah, so brave, so bold. And yeah, it's amazing to see what can happen when you finally do take that leap and we finally do trust that everything's going to be good on the other side. So I'd love to hear a little bit about where were you in business or in life right before we connected, and what led you to invest in mentorship and in me at that particular moment?
Wow. So at that point, I had sort of started the company. So I've got a website. I knew the vision I had and what I wanted to bring to the table. But a real important part of what I do is taking women on transformational adventures. And whilst I have a degree from way back when in leisure and tourism management, and I knew a bit about travel years ago, my space had been in the HR field. So I was slightly disconnected, or quite a lot disconnected from, the world of events and travel. And I had a passion for it myself. So from a personal basis, I knew, what travel was all about. But I felt that I wanted to be doing what I do with absolute excellence. I wanted to, have the most latest up-to-date information. I wanted to have somebody who was an expert in that field who could help guide me. And, the weird thing is that I felt that I didn't know who that person was. And then one day I remember being on this group WhatsApp chat, as you know, and there was a link, I think that you had put in the group because you'd obviously worked with Mind Valley in the past, and I was part of a Mind Valley group through AFES last year. And you had offered, some free, an opportunity to sort of show up for a few days and join a bit of a masterclass over a 3-day period, or maybe a 4-day period. And I remember sort of clicking on the link thinking I'm going to find out a bit more about this. And I remember reading up and thinking, this is exactly what I need right now. However, I was also very apprehensive because one, it was like I had to show up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'd done this before for some of these freebies and I felt like I'd wasted my time. But I thought, well, let me show up at least for the first day. Let me get a sense of what this is all about and then take it from there. And I was blown away. I sat at 4 o'clock in the morning, totally awake and excited, thinking, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed. The universe brought me the person that I need to be working with. And for the next few days, I jumped on those calls at 4 a.m. in the morning. And by the end of it, it was like, okay, I'm ready. How do I reach out? How do I connect? I need this woman in my life right now. And here we are.
Here we are. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad we're here, that you followed that intuition, that, that you had that drive inside of you to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and be there. Not many people do that. And, there's something that I think is worth noting, which is how unique and powerful your full yes was in the moment that we connected, right? So you messaged me during that masterclass and you're like, I'm interested in working together. Can we hop on a call? We hopped on a call. And I remember there was just like this amazing energy between us, right? It was like, we just knew that we want to work together, right? It was like such a full yes for both of us. And yet I know that a lot of times there can be a moment of fear, of hesitation, of indecision, right? I've seen this in myself, especially the first time I made a big investment in my own coaching.
Yeah.
And with you, it was just like, my perception of it was like, there was no hesitation. You're just like, I'm in. And I remember I was like, do you want to know how much the program is? And you're like, I don't care. I'm in. And I just found this so remarkable about you, like the conviction. And for me, that's like, it was like a sign of like self-belief. Like, I'm going for this. I'm going for this. I'm investing in myself. I'm investing in my dreams, investing in my business. And like, I'm just so curious to know, like, what do you think? Is that how you always make decisions? Or was there something like, what got you to that empowered, yes, I'm going to do this, even though there was, maybe some hesitation, some fear in the field as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And I think for me, there's been a journey that I've been on since I've left the corporate world. And a little bit of that started beforehand. But that was a real journey into my own sort of self-development and really connecting with my true self from the inside. And so along that way on this journey that I continue to be on, one of the things that I've learned to do is trust my intuition. And I recognize that there are times when I didn't do that. And I've kind of come full circle and I said, I knew I should have done that. I had this niggling, I had this pull, and I didn't follow my gut. And at that moment when, you showed up in my life, I knew instantly that, you were there for a reason. And there was no way that I needed to hesitate. I knew that, you'd been called, somehow we attracted each other. And then when I spoke with you, I felt like the language, we had the same shared language, the same values. It just felt so right. And, for me, I knew that this would be beyond even like a professional relationship because, the conversations that we've had during our time together has been absolute profound. And I remember saying to you at one point that, wow, this is not just about the kind of external, the business part, but actually I'm growing so much. There's so many breakthroughs that I'm having on a personal level while going through this experience. And for me, that was so important because I'm on this journey, and I need to attract people, and I want to attract people who kind of get my vibe and who recognize that for me, there is more than just building a business, but it's also like being true to myself and finding out who I am, and so that my business can align with that my business can feel authentic, and I can feel passionate about it. This is not anything forced, and so yeah, that was my reason for saying like, yes, 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 sign me up, send me the payment link, let's get it.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm just like really, I just think it was incredible. Like you just came in so strongly, so confidently, like, let's do this. And I feel like your results are like, you just backed, like when you come in with that energy, you get a certain thing out of it. Right. And I feel like you're just totally embodying that. So I wanted to touch upon that. So I know that you initially, actually, before I ask you that, you mentioned just now, and I know you mentioned in our conversations before that, initially you came because you wanted support in events. And what you hadn't realized was actually there was a lot of inner work that was a part of it as well. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about that in terms of what was that inner work, or what were some of the shifts or the realizations that you had that actually were surprising because they were far outside of the realm maybe of the initial intention?
Yeah. I mean, I'm somebody that I consider myself to be pretty confident, and just through my own career and having to show up and sort of put myself out there, having to be in human resources and have really difficult conversations with people has been challenging. But somehow it's allowed me to kind of evolve into this confident but yet compassionate and empathetic person. But I think for me, what I recognized is, like, you really start to see yourself for not just your strengths, but also those things that you're not so strong at. And I hadn't seen myself there. I'd always been sort of the expert in the field of HR. I'd been at the top of my game. I'd been pretty much working for an amazing institution. And I was the go-to person. And now I was in this new world of being an entrepreneur, which was scary as hell and also quite lonely at times. Mm-hmm. And you really have to, it's quite confronting, because I remember, when we talked about the events, a huge part of that is selling, right? It's getting out there, showing up. Now I'll get up there, I'll stand in front of 1,000 people and have a conversation. But I recognize that there was this real discomfort in now kind of getting on, I don't know, Instagram or whatever it was, doing a video of some kind, or even just writing, where I'm now trying to kind of sell what I do. And I didn't necessarily anticipate that. And I didn't necessarily recognize that would be a huge hurdle for me, and that actually there was this fear of being too salesy. And that was like, whoa, where did that come from? And I remember, like, what I love about you is you hold me accountable, and you would say, but Akua, you're not showing up. You committed to be jumping on and doing lives where you can, or at least showing up in videos, but you didn't do it. And that's what I need. I need someone. I don't want somebody there to sort of say, hey, everything is going well. I need someone to tell me how it really is. Yeah. And so I'm learning to lean into that, and it's still a work in progress. I'm not going to say that I'm 100% comfortable with it right now, but I'm showing up and I'm doing what I need to do. And I recognize that, as you said, the more you continue to do it, the more easier it gets. I'm not selling, am I? I mean, I'm talking about something that I'm absolutely passionate about. Something that actually has worked for me and helped change my life from where I was to where I am today. Living the last, 18 months of my life have been the best ever. And I always recognize and acknowledge and reflect on that, knowing that it hasn't been easy, but wow, taking that risk I'm just so overwhelmed with just how beautiful my life is right now. And it doesn't mean that I don't have problems. Of course I do. But I'm in control. I'm now the author of my own story. I now have that freedom and flexibility And even more so, you know, through you kind of then leaning into me and say, okay, so how can we broaden what you're doing? You know, what other things can we do to really help you create you know, a beautiful program that allows people a choice of what they can do. And then, of course, we spoke about the coaching. And in my mind, initially, I'd coached in the workplace, which was completely different. It felt restrictive. You know, I couldn't jump onto or have a meeting with somebody and coach them and say, well, if you're not happy, leave your job. That's risky for me to do that in HR, right? For many different reasons.
Yeah.
And so it was very restrictive. And so for me, having kind of like one-on-one coaching, didn't feel authentic. And working with you has made me sort of flip the switch, like, you know, 180, and recognize actually that is going to help you in terms of your freedom that you've been searching for. And now I'm able to still travel the world, still earn money, and also create a program that is authentically me, because I don't have to think about anyone else. I can think about my own experiences, I can think about my own development, and really put something together that I know works, you know. And actually I had no idea that would be so quick, you know, like I things happened so quickly with that. And I was like, wow. And I remember it was you that said to me, Akua, stop a minute. You've signed up 3 clients in 1 month. And I was like, oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, which is incredible. It wasn't even 1 month. I remember we had a call and then we had
Yes.
a week off. So it was 2 weeks. And
Yeah,
between one call and the next, that was 2 weeks, you signed 3 clients and basically had 10K in revenue. And you know, it's interesting because, you know, I did have to kind of be like, wait a minute, hold on. Like, do you see how remarkable this is? You know, like it's not a super common thing that people come straight out the gate and have a 10K month as a new coach, right? And so I want to ask you, I want to dig in a little bit there, but before we do, I want to go back to something you just said a moment ago, which was, you know, you initially came to me for help in building a retreat. And I had recommended to you that perhaps you create an online offer as well to help stabilize income in between retreats and just have an additional revenue stream. And you were hesitant. You were hesitant around coaching. But you came around, right? You came around and now you're delivering client sessions and you're doing it from anywhere in the world. And, you know, I would love to hear a little bit about that shift from like hesitation to leaning in, because I think it's really important for anyone watching that might have a business model that's built purely around live events and that might not understand why or be drawn so much to creating an online offer. I think it'd be really helpful for you to just touch upon that.
Yeah. So I think for me, again, I think, you know, what you did so skillfully and so beautifully was really walk me through, you know, the potential to have other offers and walk me through step by step to a point. It was so detailed that we kind of calculated, okay, so how much do you want to earn? Right? Like it was kind of like that. Okay. So, and then we started to plug in numbers. And I'm like, well, this makes complete sense, right? Why would I not want to have income in between? And actually, one of the things that we recognize is that we had COVID and everything face to face and live stopped, right? Like there were no in-person events. And so for me, it was important to think about, well, what is the contingency? What if something like that, God forbid, were to happen again?
Yeah.
How would I make sure that I can still continue to earn and have a livelihood? Before I had a job, so I had a regular income. It didn't matter back then, but now I'm on my own. So, you know, it was important for me to really think about, well, that makes complete sense. And actually, in a way, I was looking at it as kind of like, you know, sitting behind a Zoom and kind of having like maybe a bit of a lackluster conversation, because I love connecting with people. And I had to shift my mindset completely and say, hold on a minute. You know, we know the power of Zoom and video calls and all of that. Like this has now become what we do. I mean, this is how we communicate the most, right? And actually, it's so powerful because now I can connect with clients anywhere in the world. And I can have this laptop with me And for example, be in Bali, like I was just for a month ago, and in between all of the beautiful and amazing things that I'm doing, I'm jumping on a call, but actually I'm enjoying these calls. I'm enjoying helping these women through this amazing journey. I'm enjoying seeing their own breakthroughs. And
Mm.
so it was really down to that mindset shift to think about, okay, and for me, a lot of it has also been like conditioning. Like I've been in the corporate world forever and a day. Like I've never had my own business. And so as I'm part of, as you know, as part of the journey that I'm on, I'm also learning to unwrap all of that conditioning and
Yeah,
unpeel all of those layers. And it takes time. And
yeah,
so I'm also basically learning to unlearn some of those things that actually no longer serve me.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I love everything that you just shared, and I think it's really beautiful that you highlighted that you get to do it in your own way, right? Like you get to create the program and deliver the program in the way that you want and get to work with the people that you want that light you up. Like you get full permission to do it in your own way, right? And I think sometimes we kind of miss that. We think that we need to like follow a certain formula or something, but it's like no, I get to do it in whatever way really lights me up. So yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
so beautiful that you found your way. And I just know that it will continue to evolve and unfold and unfurl in beautiful ways as time goes on. All right. So I would love to now go back to this moment where it's like you sign 3 clients in 1 month, you have a 10K month as a new coach, you know, who was just recently a little hesitant to even take this path. And, you know, this is these are remarkable results. And
Mhm.
so I would love to kind of unpack like what do you think are some of the things, whether that's like practically or mentally or energetically, that helped you to get to that point like quite quickly.
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes back to the why. Why am I doing this in the first place? And sometimes that gets lost along the way. We get caught up in stuff, in the doing, and we forget the why. And so for me to be able to go back to that why, my heart starts to flutter. Like I feel like there's this beautiful feeling inside my stomach. I feel great about it because I know that this is the work that I'm supposed to be doing.
Mm,
And to really know that I can be of service through the things that I love. So through travel, through people, through uplifting and empowering, for me is a reminder that, as much as this feels scary, again, listen to that gut, listen to that intuition. You are here for a reason. And I don't know if you can see behind me, but it's probably backwards. What you seek is seeking you. It's what it's written on my wall
oh,
here by
I
Rumi.
love that quote.
Yeah. And so I think that is an aspect of it, is really sort of remembering why you're doing this and how you feel, those emotions that it invokes, right? Because those emotions don't lie, and if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, then, sometimes, and it doesn't feel authentic. So that's one. I also think, secondly, for me, it was also stepping out of my comfort zone and
Mm,
recognizing that, this is new space for me. But there's this saying that basically says, if it doesn't scare you, then it's not big enough, right? And
mm,
so it's really being into lean into that discomfort and that fear, and being able to sort of change that relationship with fear and recognize that actually this is just part of the process. This is normal. Of course, we're going to feel like this, but it's not going to last forever. On the other side of that, you're going to come out thinking, whoa, that wasn't that bad. Actually, I quite enjoyed it. So it was really, again, taking that sort of leap of faith, knowing that as uncomfortable as this feels, it's supposed to feel uncomfortable. And,
mm.
for me, courage is a big part of what I help women to cultivate, to make these life-changing decisions. And then I think, again, sometimes we're all waiting to be like this expert, like to have all of these skills and do all of these things. And we get so caught up in the way that the kind of world does things that we don't kind of lean on our own experience and, our own gut instinct again, knowing that, what, you're having a conversation at the end of the day, but you're guiding these women.
Mm,
And you
yeah.
don't necessarily have to have some sort of PhD or Some people don't even have any accreditation in and masters, coaching certificates. And, you know, everyone's different. I mean, I've been, you know, coached before by somebody who does not have a official coaching certificate.
Yeah.
But they had so much more to offer. So I wasn't going to sort of rule that person off. So I think it's also about that self-belief and knowing that, you know, it's a process, and you know, along the way you'll get experience. You start, you sort of put your foot out there, and before you know it, your legs out there, and before you know it, you're fully out there. And that's it's just reminding ourselves that, you know, we're new beginners. You know, this is we're starting afresh in something new, and it's okay not to know everything, but just believe in yourself and know that if this feels like what you're supposed to be doing, then do it.
Yes, I love that. I so resonate with that. And it's something I so believe in. Like if you are feeling called to this, if that desire is inside of you, it is for a reason, and you can trust that. Yeah. So you said having a really strong why, feeling connected to your why, your purpose, your passion, stepping out of your comfort zone and knowing that on the other side of the comfort zone is what you want, right? Like growth by definition is getting out of your comfort zone. If you're in your
Yes,
comfort zone, you're not changing, you're not growing, right?
absolutely.
And then the third one is just believing in yourself and knowing like I am ready. If I want this, then I'm
Yeah.
ready. Yeah, I saw this quote the other day that I loved so much, and it was ready is a decision, not a feeling.
Ooh, love it.
And I loved that, right? And it was just like, and it to kind of come back full circle, like that's what I saw in you at that initial call that we had, right? It was like, I'm taking the decision that I'm ready. I'm taking the
Yeah,
decision that now is the time for me, right?
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
oh, thank you so much for sharing all of this, Akua. I have just loved working with you. I mean, it's hard to even think that it's work, right? Like it feels like play and growth and expansion and this like soul level connection. And it's just been so beautiful to witness your journey. And I am so excited to see like what's to come for you. So thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for, you know, trusting yourself and being someone so incredible and shining your light into the world, because the world needs it. It needs you. So as we
Oh.
wrap up, let anyone who's watching, who's vibing with you and your story and would love to connect more, obviously they can follow you on Instagram. And is there any other way that they can connect with you?
Yeah, so Instagram, of course, we're going to post this on Instagram, but also LinkedIn. So you can find me at LinkedIn. It's Teresa Akua Powell by the name. There's a story behind Akua, but that's for next time. Also, just email. So akua@dreamcatcherglobal.co, that's CO, and Facebook. Happy to, you can connect with me either of those ways, and it'll
All
be,
the ways.
yeah, absolutely.
Akua, thank you so much for being here. So much appreciation for
Thank
you.
you.
Mwah.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Mwah.